Greetings Internet, and welcome back for another Oxleymations presentation. Now, as stated in my last video, I'm going to be talking about a movie that my sister and I got to see over the weekend. We got to see Alice Through the Looking Glass. Now, with this film, it was obviously another Tim Burton romp into the world of Alice in Wonderland, and it fell into a similar trope to the original film, which is that they're trying to explain things that don't need to be explained. Sorry, I need a drink. When in doubt, pinky out. Anyway, trying to explain things that don't need to be explained. Explaining nonsense, when nonsense is there just purely to be nonsensical. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So, jumping into the film, it starts off with Alice on a ship. As you may recall at the end of the first film, she was talking about all this nautical jargon and talking about how her father had this trading company and how they had a foothold in Hong Kong and stuff like that. Well, this movie takes that concept and actually, brings it to life. She's on her father's ship, sailing on the ocean, having the time of her life. And then suddenly, while they're just sailing along, smooth sailing, doing their thing, someone happens to go, "Captain, ship's approaching!" And they happen to look, and coming up behind them on two different sides are two Chinese ships. I assume they're Chinese. They're those oriental, those big oriental... What's the word I'm looking for here? Dang it, what is that word? Sails. Thank you, brain. Those oriental sails, where it's like a stick straight up the middle and like lines like this, and then you know what I'm talking about. They had those kind of sails on them, and it turns out that they're being kind of herded into this alcove, into this shipwreck yard of sorts, because you got a sandbar coming up straight in front of them. They've got coral reefs to the sides, and at the angles where they could turn right or left, or stage left, stage right, however you'd like to look at that, there are those craggy, jagged rock formations that stick up out of the ocean. So they're basically being pinned. They are screwed, for lack of a better term. Until Alice, the clever girl that she is, comes up with a brilliant idea. We'll turn the ship. I kid you not. I'm going to use my friend's copy of XCOM 2 as an example. Okay, so, alright, see, here's the ship. See, all nice and whatnot. She decides to literally turn it like this to get over the sandbar. And it works. Alice in Wonderland. Alice suddenly becomes Jack Sparrow. Without the alcohol, apparently. So, again, and she, like she was saying in the first movie, you can only accomplish the impossible if you believe in it. That's how she explains it. She believed they could turn that ship and not have it capsize. Logic, everybody. That's actually a good way to start off the film, illogically. Because again, it's about Alice in Wonderland. Wonderland, the nonsensical place in its own little dimension. Or if you believe the rumors, it's where you go when you hit a little do a little drug addiction, not drug addiction, druggy kind of things. But no, don't take that the wrong way. I'm not. No, I did comments. People in the comments. Nope. Stop it. Good. Thank you. Now, moving straight on along. Hey, you get off that keyboard. Yeah, you. Anyways, so what they wind up doing next is they jump straight from Alice being all badass and female Jack Sparrow and whatnot on the ship to her docking the ship at the docks. She's come ashore. After she's come ashore, she's greeted by a carriage to take her back to her home. And it turns out when she gets there that the guy who wanted to marry her from the first film, um, I can't remember his name, so I'm going to go with what the Nostalgia Critic called him, the Lesser Weasley. You know, red hair, kind of nose pointed up, kind of always going like this, you know, kind of upper lip stuck up, rah rah kind of guy. He has, since her mother was going through financial crisis, he has agreed to help her financially if she signs over the deed to the house and if she signs over the ship, Alice's father's ship, to him. The ship that she was just sailing and being all badass on. Now, when Alice catches word of this, you know, that it's no longer her mother's house, no longer her house, she's reasonable about it, kind of, at first. At least before she hears about her father's ship. But then when she hears about her father's ship and the fact that Hamish, oh my god, Hamish, that's the dude's name. Anyway, when she learns that Hamish is going to, like, sell off her ship, her father's ship, and have her take a secretary job, she's like, no, I ain't having that. I'm an independent woman. I don't need your shit. Pardon the language to any of my younger viewers. And she, you know, just kind of runs off into the house. Now, no one can seem to find her at first, as she's running off doing her thing, being all little miss, you know, I can take care of myself, I don't need you, you're getting rid of my dad's ship, you dirty rat, Mom, how could you do that? You know, she actually hollers at her mom about it, and then she storms off, which is how we get to this point. As she's going through the house, you remember the butterfly from the first one, you know, the little blue butterfly guy? He's back. And he leads her to the looking glass. So at this point in the movie, Hamish has the house looking for her, and he apparently has found her in her father's study, which is where the butterfly led her to. You know, she hears them coming up the hall, she quickly runs over, locks the door, puts a chair in front of it for good measure, and he's like, Alice, boom, boom, Alice, are you in there? Boom, boom. Someone get the lock. She's not supposed to be in this house. She's not allowed in there. Alice, boom, boom. And while this is going on, Alice is watching the butterfly as he dips through the mirror. Or should I say the looking glass. So then Alice, you know, almost having to deal with reality for a minute, she's like, you know what? I'm going to follow the butterfly. And so Alice goes up onto the mantle, because the mirror, the looking glass I'm referring to, is one of those big, giant ones that would be over top of a fireplace. So she climbs up on the fireplace mantle and goes through the looking glass as well. And credits. So, she gets to Neverland. Sorry, Wonderland. And just like in the first film, something's not quite right here. Apparently, the Hatter is dying. Or not dying. Yes, no, that comes a little farther along. My apologies. 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. It's the Oxleymations way. So she gets there and there's something wrong with the Hatter. At least that's what everyone keeps telling her. Like, he's freaking out, he won't leave his house. You know, he's just being weirder than usual. So Alice goes to investigate, and he tells her, you know, he lets her in and he tells her the story of, you know, why he's acting the way he is and what's going on in his head. And we get a nice little flashback to where it's him, that guard dog from the first one, but Alice, this was not foretold. That guy. He, the White Rabbit, that guy, and I think the March Hare are playing fetch. Like, he throws the stick for the dog, and the dog grabs it and is like, your turn, and flings it across the yard, and the Hatter, obviously, goes chasing after it. So after he gets the stick, you know, he bends down to get it, and the wind happens to blow at that exact moment, revealing a little tiny paper hat that was hidden underneath a couple of leaves. So he sees this, and he's instantly like, I remember this hat. Yes, I remember this hat. I gave this to my father. This means they're still alive. I must go find my family. And so no one else believes him that his family's still alive because of the Frabjous Day. Or not Frabjous Day, the one where the Jabberwock came down and Godzilla'd everything and, like, you know, destroyed everything. So, old Mr. Hatter starts going madder. And it's up to Alice, according to the Hatter. Alice has to be the one to go save his family. And then when she says, Hatter, and he's like, Alice, don't you believe me? And she's like, I want to believe. And then his attitude changes. And you'll remember that one personality of the Mad Hatter. The Jabberwock with eyes of flame. You know, the Irish one, and I can't do the accent just right this second. He slips back into that persona and quickly shoos her out of the house, angry with her because she didn't believe him. So then she decides that she has to go talk with... through interaction with her, the White Queen, and the others, she figures out that she has to figure out what happened that day so that she can, you know, fix it and bring the Hatter's family back, because they're all convinced that his family is dead, and all signs point to yes, that his family is dead. So she goes off on this magical journey. She meets Time, who's actually played by he's played pretty well by this actor. I'm not positive on this, but I'm thinking it's the same guy who played the Italian barber from Sweeney Todd. I can't remember his name right now. But anyway, I believe it's him playing this Time guy. So she winds up going to Time's castle, and apparently Time is now, you know, in a relationship with the Red Queen. You know, the bloody Red Queen from the first film. So Alice goes in there. She finds out about this thing that's basically it's like the key that's holding all time together. It's this little orb, this little clockwork ball, and when she finds it, it's, you know, just like this big. But then when she winds up, you know, going to snatch it so she can do her thing to go back and try and see what happened to the Hatter's family, the thing falls off, ting ting ting, boom, turns into a freaking time machine. Full size, ready for someone to just step in and ting ting, and go. So she does. And then shenanigans ensue as she goes back to the past. And she starts looking through all these different things that happened, you know, all these different days. She meets the Hatter as a younger person, which leads up to why he, you know, it makes you understand why he believes, you know, the present Hatter believes that she's the only one who can save his family, because back in the past she told him so. Movie, you don't have to explain the Hatter's madness. You don't have to tell us why he believes she's the only one. Regardless. Or the only one who can save his family, but regardless. She goes back, she meets him, she has that conversation with him, she gets to meet the Hatter's family. Turns out that there's a father-son issue where, you know, the father's got the whole BS where, like, son, you gotta stop straightening your act out. You know, you cannot keep making all these fantastical things. You know, if you're going to be a Hatter in this family, you've got to get your stuff together and quit making these fanciful things. And lo and behold, he holds up that little blue hat the Hatter found while he was playing fetch. It turns out it was the Hatter's first hat that he ever made. He went to give it to his father as a present, like, "Here, Dad, look what I made." And his dad's like, well, son, you've made it all wrong. Look, here. And then he winds up tearing it, and then his son's like, And then, of course, you know, father-son issues. The son's not good enough for the father, in the father's eyes. And then we then we jump scenes to where we find out why the White Queen and the Red Queen are at odds with each other, and it's all because of this. When they were kids, their mother gave them some tarts. And the White Queen, I don't know what her name was, so I'm just going to keep calling her that. The White Queen winds up taking an extra tart, and she sneaks off into her sister's room. She eats it, and while she's eating it, she drops a bunch of crumbs on the floor. And then just before her sister comes in, she, just sweeps it under the rug, under the bed with her foot. And her... Ooh, sorry. Been drinking a lot of pop lately, so I got some burps. Anyway, the Red Queen comes in, and of course they're all children at this stage. So she comes in, and she's upset, like, "What are you doing in my room?" "Oh, nothing." And then the mother comes in after they're having a heated argument, and the mother, is trying to straighten everything out, and she happens to notice under the bed the tart crumbs. And she's like, "Have you been sneaking more tarts?" to the red one. And the red one's like, "It wasn't me, mother. I'm telling the truth. It was the white one." And the white one's like, "Not me. No, that was you. That was all you." And then the mother's like, "Is this true?" And the red one's just like, "No, she's lying, mother. I'm telling you. She's the one who ate the tarts, and that's her crumbs." And then White Queen's like, "No, those aren't mine. I've never seen those crumbs before in my life." And the Red Queen gets in trouble for it. And because of the crumbs from the tart from the Red Queen under her bed and her sister lying about it and getting her in trouble, that's the whole reason why the Red Queen and the White Queen just don't get along. Isn't that stupid? That is just completely stupid. It almost fits, it almost slides in along in the line of the nonsense that is Wonderland. But at the same time, no, movie, no. It looks like I might wind up having to do a part 2 of this as I'm running short on time. So I'm just going to go on a little longer, and then I'm going to do my outro. So anyway, after that, we find out that the Red Queen got so irritated, so upset, so angry with her sister that she charges out of the castle and goes running away. And when she does so, mind you, at this point, I forgot to mention this, it's winter outside, so there's snow kind of coming down, there's snow everywhere, things are kind of slick. And Alice somehow found out about the day that this all happened. I'm getting myself jumbled up again, but I'm just going to keep rolling with the thought I have right now. So Alice finds out about the day that the White Queen and her sister, decided to not like each other anymore. She goes back and she witnesses all this. And she also finds out that this was the day that the Red Queen, had her accident. And we find out she had an accident because when she was a child, her head was the normal size. Yes, you can see where I'm going with this. They try to explain why the Red Queen has such a freaking big head. They can't just stick with the idea that the Red Queen has such a big head because of the illustrations from the original Lewis Carroll Alice in Wonderland books, where most of the citizens of Wonderland had huge heads. Even the Hatter, his head was about as big as the Red Queen's in this film. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself again. So, she finds out what happened and she tries to prevent it. What happens is, as Red Queen lady girl is charging through the streets of whatever the name of the town is, she winds up slipping and cracking her coconut on a fountain in the center of town. And for some reason that causes her head to start swelling up. The swelling never goes down. But there's actually a little more to that story, but I've only got like 30 seconds left to do my outro. Thank you for watching part 1 of my little Alice in Wonderland Through the Looking Glass review thingamajiggy. Tune in next time for part 2, where I will be talking about the rest of the film. And I will also, in that video, be divulging how I almost died at work. So, thank you everybody so much for watching. Cowabunga, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.